Hello and welcome to Lily's Library. So it is a little overdue, but today we are here to go through all of the books I read in August and all of the books that are on my TBR for the month of September. So we have got quite the stack to get through, so let's just get straight into it. So in August, I read a total of 6 books, and this was a 50-50 split pretty much between physical books and digital books. And the first book I finished reading was Red Tempest, Brother by H.M. Long. I did a buddy read of this with my friend Kerry, but this is the third and final book in the Winter Sea trilogy. I had a good time with this. I definitely think Darkwater Daughter is the best and nothing can top it, but I think this did fix a lot of the issues I had with Black Tide Sun, which was the pacing and the plot of it just seemed very rushed, whereas Red Tempest Brother kind of tied things together a lot better. Part of me kind of wishes I stopped just at Darkwater Daughter, but I'm also still happy that I got kind of like the resolution from these books. They just really did fall off after Darkwater Daughter. The next book I read was The Roommate Risk by Talia Hibbert. This is in the Midnight Heart series. I'm not too sure how many books are in this, but this is the only one I've read. This is the only other book I've read by Talia Hibbert as well, besides the Brown Sisters books, and I really loved them, and I really enjoyed this one as well. This is very angsty and fun and very fast and quick read to get through, and was kind of like the perfect book to help me out with reading some of these heavier fantasies. I've been also continuing my Live Ship Traders journey and my Realm of the Elderlings journey, and I read The Mad Ship by Robin Hobb. This is book 2 in the Live Ship Traders trilogy, and I really liked this. I liked it a lot more than the Ship of Magic because it really just expanded upon everything, and we really got a lot of the character development that I was craving by the end of Ship of Magic. So I'm very intrigued to see where the rest of this trilogy goes, because this is a 900-page book, and this is literally just setting up for the final book. So I really had no idea what to expect going into this, and now I have no idea what to expect going into the final book. So I am very stressed and nervous, but I'm excited to see where all of this goes and how these characters' journeys come to an end, because this was just so beautifully done. Hobb is such a great writer when it comes to characters. Like, you really love them or really love to hate them, and just her character work is insane, and this book was just phenomenal. I really love pirates. I didn't also mean to read 2 pirate books this month in August, but that's kind of what ended up happening. I think that's one of the things that made me struggle a bit, having kind of like a mediocre pirate book and an amazing one that's very long. But I had a really good time reading this, and I'm expecting Ship of Destiny, the third book, to be the best out of the 3. Next, I read Until the Red Leaves Fall by Ali Parker. This is one of my friends' books, and oh my god, it was just absolutely incredible. Ali also wrote At the Foot of the Cherry Tree, which was one of my favorite books from the year it came out. And this is just so good. This is a historical fiction. It's set in Melbourne in the 1950s, and it's set specifically in like the theatre world, and it is just so good. It's very similar to Yellowface in some ways, and also The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, and I know a few people have comped it to The Safekeep, which is not something I've read, but I'm meaning to read. But this is just so compelling and fast-paced, and it really draws you into this world and these characters, and like, you really just can't escape it. Ali is such a fantastic writer, and I just absolutely loved this book. This has also got one of the most satisfying endings I have read in a very long time. I just literally could not put it down when I got into like the final third of it. It was just such a page turner and so gripping, and I needed answers. This is infuriating and heartbreaking in the best ways possible. It talks a lot about being Japanese Australian in Australia in the 1950s, and a lot about the main character's history, Emiko's history and her family, and her fighting to tell her own truth and find her place and be seen for who she is. And it's just such a beautiful book, and I need everyone to pick it up. This has also got lots of queer representation in it as well. Emiko, our main character, is bisexual, which is a really not a big deal in the book, which I absolutely loved. Like, it's the least interesting thing about her character, and I really appreciated just how normal and chill that was, and it wasn't made to be a big deal. It just felt very genuine, which I really loved. Then I ended up reading an early copy of Curses and Cold Brew by Ali K. Mulford and K.L. Morrison. This is out now. This is book 2 in the Maple Hollow universe. It's the sequel to Pumpkin Spice and Poltergeist, which is a book I read last September, I believe, or around this time last year, and I really enjoyed it. This one I didn't like as much as Pumpkin Spice. I just really did struggle to connect to the characters, but I thought that the plot of this one was really interesting. But in Curses in Cold Brew, we follow one of the town's resident witches who is kind of getting roped up into this deal with a demon. She entered this deal to try and help her friend in book 1, and now we're kind of following the fallout of that. So we follow this demon as she is trying to collect on this deal with this witch, but also she notices that the souls that she is meant to be collecting from other people once they die, they're being stolen from under her, and we kind of follow them as they team up to investigate who is taking these souls and why they're taking souls from a demon and how that's even possible. It's really fun and fast-paced, but I just really did struggle to connect to the characters. Just something about this didn't work for me, but I think a lot of people will really enjoy it. And then the final book I ended up reading was volume 1 of the Apothecary Diaries. I've been watching the anime of this and I really love it. Part of me is mad I didn't watch it sooner, but a part of me is also glad I'm only watching it now because I don't have as long to wait for the next season. But I really enjoyed this. I was really interested to see what the difference is between the anime and the manga, and I've also got the light novel, so I'm going to be reading that soon too to see what the differences are in all of them, because I have heard the manga kind of focuses more on the romance, whereas the light novels focus more on the mystery of it. And this, from just volume 1, this definitely focused more on the romance and Mao Mao and Jinshi together, because there are some fucking insane panels in this. I want to see if I can find one. But yeah, so you can kind of see it a lot more here. Like, this is something that happens in the anime, but I feel like it wasn't done to this extent. But I had a really good time with this. If you haven't heard of the Apothecary Diaries, in this we follow Mao Mao, who is an apothecary, and she is out collecting herbs to help her father and stuff with their apothecary business and stuff. So she's out there collecting herbs, and one day she ends up getting kidnapped by a group of thugs, and then they sell her into the palace, and she starts working there as a servant girl. So she's working in the laundry. But then one day the babies of some of the concubines start getting really sick and are almost on the brink of death. And Mao kind of figures out what is causing this and what matches up with their symptoms, and leaves a note to both of the concubines to save their kids. And she ends up getting employed kind of to then help out one of the concubines and be one of her ladies in waiting, and to also help solve a lot of the mysteries and weird things going on in the palace. So we've got people being poisoned, we've got people sleepwalking and sleep dancing on like the walls and stuff surrounding the palace, and all sorts of mysteries. And it's just really fun and such a good series, and I really cannot wait to watch and read more. But those were all the books I read in August. I think my favorite was definitely Until the Red Leaves Fall. It was just so good and I really couldn't put it down. It was fantastic. Now for September, we have got quite the ambitious TBR. There is 2 books that are carrying over from August that I didn't get around to finishing, so I think I'll start with those first. Okay, so the first of the 2 that I will be focusing on that are carryovers from August is The Spear Cuts Through Water by Simon Jimenez. I'm about 50% of the way through this. I was hoping to finish this and read this in August, but it just really wasn't clicking and wasn't working with my brain. And I've ended up picking up the audiobook, and I've been doing a tandem read of this, which is honestly really helping and made such a big difference. But The Spear Cuts Through Water is a standalone fantasy, and in this we follow 2 soldiers who are trying to shepherd an old god across the country to kind of start a war and to kind of overthrow the current emperor and ruling family. And it sounds really interesting, and what I've read so far is very insane. Like I said, I wasn't certain at first, but I'm really hooked into it now, especially after some of the events that happened in this. I will put a few warnings as well. This is very violent, and I have seen a lot of people freak out and get really squeamish over the cannibalism in it, but it was such a minor part that you can really just kind of skip over that chunk if that is something that turns you off reading this. But I'm very intrigued to see where this goes. I don't think it'll be a favorite of mine. I think it's something I would need to reread just because I have been struggling to connect into this world, but I am really intrigued and excited to see where this goes. Another book I've been struggling with, and I actually started reading in July, I'm pretty sure, was He Who Drowned the World by Shelley Parker Chan. This is book 2 in the Radiant Emperor duology, and I really enjoyed She Who Became the Sun, but these books are very difficult for me to connect with and engage with. They're just quite, I don't know what it is, I just always struggle with them, and I'm going to be listening to the audiobook of this to help me get through it more, just because it has been such a struggle. But I really am intrigued to see where this goes, because I do truly love these characters and this world, and I am very curious to see how it all ends. It's just kind of inaccessible in my opinion, and I don't know what it is because I'm fine with so many other books, but these ones are just a struggle for me. But I cannot wait to see where it goes, so I'm really hoping I can finish it this month. I'm just going to take my time with it and try and read a chapter every now and then and see if I can get through it. Now, September is also Sapphic September, which is part of why I'm also continuing He Who Drowned the World, because that is obviously a Sapphic book. But I've got 2 other ones on my TBR that I would like to focus on and get to. The first one I think I'm definitely going to easily be able to read, and that is They Bloom at Night. This is by the same author as She Is a Haunting, which I absolutely loved. That is such a great gothic fiction. So I'm really excited to see what this one is like. I'm 99% sure this is Sapphic, but I guess I'll read it to find out. Let me know if you do know the answer to that. But this is set in a town where there's been a weird algae bloom that has kind of broken out, and it's changing a lot of the animals there. So a lot of the sea creatures are being changed and other things, and people in this town are also slowly disappearing. And our main character and her mother are tasked by the corrupt leader of this town to kind of investigate and find out who or what is taking the townspeople in order for them to stay there. And I guess we just kind of follow them along on this journey. It's a very short horror book, so I feel like it'll be good to kind of read after reading some of these heavier fantasy books. Speaking of a heavier fantasy book, we have got Metal from Heaven. This is by August Clark. I know nothing about what this book is about. I picked it up because when Arcane Season 2 came out, a lot of people were saying this is very similar to it. People comped it to Arcane and Gideon the Ninth, which are two of my favorite things, and I'm very excited and intrigued to see what this is like. This is a book I think I might go into completely blind, just because I do enjoy doing that sometimes. We'll see if that's gonna like make it a harder reading experience or a better reading experience, but I'm unsure. I know this is fantasy and sapphic, so that's all I need to know at this point. Then I'm also planning on reading Ship of Destiny by Robin Hobb. I've already started this. I'm not very far in, but I need to finish this before the end of the month, because in October we will be finally moving on to the next series in the realm of the Elderlings. October is also when I'm going on holiday for 3 weeks, so I'm not going to have a lot of time to read, so I need to get this done before then. But this is the third and final book in the Live Ship Traders. Again, like I said before, I'm very excited, but very anxious to see where this book goes and to see how this wraps up. It is set up so much, and already in the first few chapters I'm infuriated by the things happening and the things some of these characters are doing, but I really cannot wait to see how this ends, because I know it is just going to be insanely well done. I've also got 2 new releases I am hoping to read. The first one is A Theory of Dreaming by Ava Reid. This is the sequel to A Study in Drowning, which was one of my favorite books 2 years ago when it released. I really loved that, and I cannot wait to get to this one. I've heard this is very different from A Study in Drowning, so I'm really intrigued to see what this is like. But if you haven't heard of A Study in Drowning, this is Ava Reid's kind of like gothic fiction. It was marketed as dark academia, but it's really not. It's gothic, but it was set in a crumbling mansion on the side of a cliff that is slowly sinking into the water, and we follow one of our main characters who is an architecture student purely because she cannot go into literary for some reason, or because of misogyny, and she wins a competition to be able to redesign and change this really renowned and popular author's house. And so she wins that competition and goes there to try and start fixing it up and stop it from sinking into the sea and make sure it can survive generations to come. When she gets there, there is a literature student there who is actually trying to disprove this author's work and show that he didn't actually write them. And we kind of follow them as they butt heads, and their relationship grows and changes with the really insane things and weird things that are happening in this house, and the weird, maybe magical creatures that are residing in there and trying to get rid of them. It's really fun and fast paced. It does have I do have my critiques with it, but I'll talk about them another time. But it was a book that I really couldn't put down, so I'm very intrigued to see how this one goes. I know really next to nothing about what this is actually focusing on, so I'm intrigued to see what happens. Then finally, I've got Catabasis, however you want to say it, by R.F. Kuang. This is her newest book, and I was, to begin with, really uncertain and anxious about picking this up, because so many people were like making these insane reading lists and saying this is inaccessible and hard to read and you got to Google every term in it. But since it's come out, I've seen a lot of people whose thoughts and feelings and reviews I really trust say really good things about it and kind of go against that. So I'm intrigued to see what this is like. This is about a journey into hell and going through the different layers of hell, and that's all I kind of know. It's very academic as well from what I've heard, but I know I'm gonna like this. I don't care if it's confusing. I like confusing books. So we're gonna see how we go. If I can start this and pick this up, I will, but we'll see what happens. But that was all of the books I read in August and all of the books I am planning on reading in September. Let me know what your favorite read from August was and the book you are most excited to get to in September. But I will see you all with a new video next week, so make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to stick around and see more from me. But that is it. Bye.